The Manhattan District Attorney's Office today slammed three House Republican chairmen and argued they overstepped in their request for DA Alvin Bragg's testimony related to the hush money probe involving former President Donald Trump. A federal judge presiding over E. Jean Carroll's civil rape and defamation lawsuit against Trump ruled today that he'll use an anonymous jury in the case, noting the former president's inflammatory rhetoric about the justice system. And the president of a public university in Texas canceled a student-run drag show on Monday, arguing that the art form is offensive to women and comparing it to blackface. The government plans to overhaul the U.S. transplant system. It's had serious problems for years. Nearly 104,000 people are on the wait list, and 22 people die each day waiting for a transplant. TikTok's CEO testified before Congress today. The CEO tried to address concerns that the video app poses a national security threat because it's owned by a Chinese company. A tornado hit east of LA yesterday. It came from the wave of storms hitting California this week. And coffee makes you move more but sleep less, according to a new study. And newly released surveillance video shows a group of law enforcement officers in Virginia enter Ervo Otinio's cell in the Henrico County Jail, and at least one appears to throw several punches in an encounter just hours before Otinio's death at a mental hospital. You are listening and watching Areva Martin in real time, and I'm your host, Areva Martin. This is your one-stop destination for today's trending news, expert analysis, and my unfiltered opinions. This is hour 2, so we are taking your calls at 1-800-920-1580. And if you are watching us on YouTube, drop us a comment or a question. We will read it online. I'm super, super excited. In this hour, I get to acknowledge two phenomenal African-American female writers. And since it is still Women's History Month, what better time of the year, of the month to do so? I am joined in this hour by African-American Black romance novelist, superstar writer, Beverly Jenkins. I got to know Beverly's work some years ago, and she's written, I don't know, she's going to tell us how many books, but she's written a whole lot of books. And I've actually read about 10 or 15 of them, so I feel pretty good. I just read one of her latest books. And also in this hour, Rachel Howzell Hall joins us. She is a New York Times bestselling crime fiction author. So even though they write about different subject matters, they have so much in common. So we're going to hear their stories. We're going to talk to them about how did they become so famous and so successful. You know, everybody talks about writing a book. Everybody says they want to write a book, but these women didn't just talk about it. They did something about it. So when we come forward, Beverly Jenkins and Rachel Howzell Hall join me. KBLA Talk 1580.
The Los Angeles Urban League and Parkside Economic Development Corporation are working to close the wealth gap between Black and white households. B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program's free virtual workshops will help your family acquire, gain, maintain, and pass down legacy wealth. Learn from the experts about making more with what you have. The Black History of Money, joining the Smart Investors Club, preserving your assets in tough times, crypto, cash in or cash out, the wealthy mind and body. Register for this free series that could change your financial future at laul.org/BWAARP. Don't miss B-Warp, the Black Wealth Attainment and Retention Program, every 2nd and 4th Thursday in February, March, and April at 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Register now at laul.org/BWAARP.
Need legal help? Attorney Jovan Blacknell is an aggressive trial attorney specializing in criminal defense and civil litigation. Look no further than the law office of Jovan Blacknell. From personal injury to criminal defense, Jovan Blacknell has the knowledge to protect your rights. The law office of Jovan Blacknell understands the stress and anxiety that come with legal issues. That's why the law office of Jovan Blacknell supports the right to a fair trial. For Los Angeles Council member Mark Ridley Thomas, are you facing a legal battle? Log on to fightforjustice.com. Don't go through it alone. Let the law office of Jovan Blacknell fight for your rights. Log on to fightforjustice.com. Let the law office of Jovan Blacknell take the worry and stress out of your case. Call 310-469-9117 today for a free consultation. That's 310-469-9117 or log on to fightforjustice.com. Law office of Jovan Blacknell, where experience and dedication make the difference.
I'm Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I learned about atrial fibrillation the hard way. My symptoms would come and go: shortness of breath, fatigue. I kept going. Then I got so lightheaded, I couldn't. My doctor said I have AFib, so I'm about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. Other symptoms, irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain can come and go, but the risk of stroke stays. If you have symptoms, tell a doctor. Visit notimetowait.com.
Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 85% water, right?
85% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure concentrated cleaning ingredients. Don't pay for water, pay for clean.
Save $10 when you spend $30 on Tide and Downy. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent. Must buy at least one participating Tide or Dreft detergent item, plus at least one participating Downy and or Bounce scent booster, liquid fabric softener, or dryer sheets. Prepaid card by mail. Visit pglaundryrebate.com for terms and conditions.
I'm back, and it is Women's History Month, so no better time to acknowledge and to celebrate two female Black authors who are setting the book world on fire. The first is Beverly Jenkins. She is a Black romance novelist. She writes about strong Black women. Her characters are fiercely independent, who you will fall in love with. She writes about the ethos of Black solidarity and liberation. She has a really sophisticated appreciation for the nuances of class structure. And I'm just fell in love with her books a couple of years ago, and I'm so happy to have this opportunity to sit down with her again. Welcome, Beverly.
Thank you. Thanks for having me back. I'm glad you've been reading my books.
I have been reading.
I'm very, very humbled by that. Thank you so much.
Well, and Rachel Howzell Hall, I just got turned on to by my producer, Avi Bernard, is a New York Times bestselling author. She has a new book out called We Lie Here that has been it's a highly acclaimed book, won lots of awards. She writes about crime, and it's a crime fiction writer, but she also has extraordinarily strong Black women characters in her books. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me here. I'm thrilled to talk to both of you.
So here you both are, one writing about romance, one writing about crime, but your characters both have a lot in common. Let's start with you, Beverly, because first of all, correct the record and tell me how many books you have actually written, because whenever I do my research, I'm always wrong. So tell
I don't know. That's a number for the fans to come up with, but I know there's at least 50.
Okay.
Okay, and in all of its forms.
And when did you start writing? Because you have a very interesting backstory as to how you became a writer.
I wasn't going to be a writer. You know, all I ever wanted to do was work in a library. But my first brush with writing, I was the editor of my elementary school newspaper in the 4th grade. So I was like 9. The Jones Elementary School Comet, for Jones Elementary on the east side of Detroit. But I was always an avid reader, though. But I sort of backed into this. I wasn't planning on being a writer, but you know, sometimes life hands you stuff and says, "Here, put this hat on and see how it fits." And
so, was there an aha moment? Was there an impetus? Was there a catalyst? Was there something that happened?
I was writing what would be my first book after work, because this was mid '80s, and basically the mass market was closed to Black writers. And I took my manuscript, my little raggedy manuscript, to work. I was working at Park Davis Pharmaceuticals, one of the first big pharmas in the United States. I was working at their reference desk. And one of my colleagues had just gotten her book published. She wrote a sweet romance, which is a romance with no love on the scenes. It's a fade to black kind of thing, right? So I was told her about this book that I was writing, just for me. And so she wanted me to bring it in. She read it. She said, you need to get this published. And I said, where? So I told people she harassed me every day about finding an agent, finding somebody. And I finally found Vivian Stevens, who was an African-American editor, excuse me, who basically started American Romance. Also one of the founders of Romance Writers of America. And she'd gotten out of publishing. She was doing agenting. Sent her my little writing manuscript. She called me less than a week later and said she wanted to represent me. So it was purchased June 3rd, 1993, which was my late husband's birthday. He was still alive back then. And then published in June of 1994. So the rest, as they say, is history.
Is history. Haven't looked back. Okay, and we're going to get back to how you decided that you were going to write steamy romance and combine it with historical facts and fiction. How about you, Rachel? Tell us your backstory. How did you become a writer?
Well, I was blessed to have a family that kind of let you do what you wanted to do. And I loved books like most writers do. I surrounded myself with books. I still surround myself with books. And back then I wanted to be a writer, but I also wanted to be a nun and go into the Marines and be in advertising. Two of those,
You're ambitious, Rachel.
Well, it was the uniforms. I liked uniforms back then. But my first story I wrote in grade school, and it was called Blue Monday. So even back then, I had a vibe of wah, wah, poor me. And it was, a little play about a girl who wakes up and everything goes wrong and her mom doesn't understand, and the end. And I actually still have it. And little did I know that I would one day feel that it was okay for me to even write a story because, even though I was born in the 70s, you didn't see a lot of Black writers. And if you did, they were, Alice Walker, they were very, very important. And the stories I wanted to tell didn't smack of very, very important. And it wasn't until I started work at Penn Center USA West in Los Angeles, I'm an Angelino, that I saw working Black writers, including B.B. Moore Campbell, Gary Phillips, Jervy Tervalon, all these great LA-based writers telling their story. And it's like, well, they're not Alice Walker, they're not Toni Morrison. I actually understand what these people are saying, and I'm enjoying it, and I'm flipping through it. Maybe I can do it too. And so I started writing my story. And my first novel was published on the first anniversary of 9/11. So, that went over great. A story about a Black family in Los Angeles dealing with mental illness. Yeah, on the first anniversary of 9/11. But since then, I keep writing and writing because I love it. I absolutely love it. And I'm so thankful that, my mom bought me books even when, she wanted me to do so much more, but it's like, I like books, buy me books. I'm going to go to college to be with books. And my husband, who we've been married for 27 years, he is one of my biggest fans. And he sent me on my first writing conference because he saw that this was a part of who I am. My daughter, same thing. She helps read. She, is in the room now. Let me have this space. I've had so much support. And I think support is one of the biggest things that a woman especially needs in order to have a writing career. Especially, I still have my day job. And so everyone I've met they're very supportive of this dream of mine to be like I said, the crime writing Beverly Jenkins. I want a career 50, 75, 100 that I've lost count. That's what I want.
So how many down do you have right now, Rachel, so we can start losing count?
With the one coming out in the summer is 12 stories, and then a few short stories and articles, of course.
Well, girl, you are on your way. 12 books. That's amazing. And you said you have a day job. So you're not even writing full time. You're still going to a job and writing on the weekends and evenings and finding time to write.
I wake up at 4:30 every morning to write.
Wow.
But I love it's my quiet time, and it's perfect because that's when I'm at my freshest. I give my best writing to myself before going off and writing for someone else for 8 hours a day.
Okay, so let's talk about how you both chose the genre. So Beverly, romance, and not just, I don't know what you called it, soft, clean. I don't know what the other romance is. Sweet.
Yeah,
There
sweet,
you go. Sweet.
Sweet. Yeah.
You didn't choose sweet. You chose saucy, sassy,
Well,
steamy.
Yeah, and I don't, probably because it was the first thing that sold, and I love a good love story, and I like heat, so and plus we had never had anything like that before, as Black women, embracing our own sexuality, and plus it's a good story. I tell people I do the history, I do the story, and I give you a treat. And then I give you, a little bit more story, and then I give you another treat. And by the end of the book, I mean, you're so busy fanning and all that, you don't realize that you have learned a lot of stuff.
Now, why are you busting out your readers, Bev? We telling folks that they fanning at the end of your books now.
Yeah, well, that's, the truth will set you free, right? But yeah, I'm real proud of what I write. I'm real proud of the history. My love scenes are love scenes because there's a difference between love and sex. So why not, right?
Did you get any pushback? Because you're writing in the 90s. So Rachel's writing now, contemporary, even though she didn't start in the 2023, but back in the 90s, when you were writing these books that show Black folks involved in love scenes, showing Black people as lawyers and doctors and business owners and, very successful people in their community, what was the response to that?
I think part of the reason that I received so many rejection letters was that there was no box for what I was writing. Publishing has boxes. And a 19th century story about Black people should have been slavery. But here I come with an all-Black town after the Civil War, free Black people on the plains of Kansas. And New York was like, what the hell is this? What are we supposed to do with, this kind of a... And all of the rejection letters said, great writing, but. And that but was, we don't know how to market this. We don't know where it goes. We don't, So, yeah.
Because romance, we should just know, romance is a huge genre. And romance writers sell, those books sell I would imagine, the billion. It's a huge market.
Yeah,
but at the time when you start, $1.4 billion market for romance. People love those steamy books. But when you started, there weren't Black romance novels like you were writing. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there were two contemporaries that had been published in the 1990s with Sandra Kidd and Rosalind Wells, who was one of the first Black women to work for Look magazine. And then we had the desert until 1994, when my historical came out and the ladies who were writing contemporaries for Arabesque. But I'm gonna give you a history lesson. The very first romance was written in 1892 by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, who was a famous abolitionist. She wrote Bury Me Not in a Free Land, which, all of the Black people had, at schools and did at funerals and had tacked on their walls. And she wrote that book. Iola Leroy was the first one. And she was 69 years old when she wrote that book. So we have roots that go back. And it was an HEA too, a Happily Ever After for that, for her stories. So, yeah.
So, you stand on some shoulders. You stand on shoulders of some amazing Black authors. What about you, Rachel? So you had a choice. Obviously, when you start writing, you could write about romance. You can write about science fiction. There's a whole world. You settled on crime fiction. Why crime?
I grew up in the jungles on Santa Tomas in Los Angeles, for those who don't know. There was some crime there, you could say. And I was that kid who was always interested in what was going around her. I didn't talk much. I was an observer. And we went to church, regularly. I was raised Seventh-day Adventist. And so I had a healthy, respect for hell. And I always wondered as a kid, why are people doing these bad things when, there's jail and there's hell? Why do we do the things we do? Mm-hmm. Even if there aren't like breaking the law, we still do bad things to each other. And I was always fascinated by that motive. Why? And it just wasn't, the people around me. It was everyone doing bad things to each other, hurting each other. And I find those stories of why people do the things they do fascinating. And with crime, you can do anything with crime. You could have romance with the crime story. You could be a sci-fi writer with the crime story, because ultimately people transgress one against the other. And I'm interested in figuring that out. I'm working out my own fears. I've had readers say, "Oh, sometimes what you're writing triggers me." It's like, it triggers me too. That's why I'm writing it, to try and figure it out. But like in romance, there was a moment where there weren't many Black crime writers.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no. Now we're getting.
So, like, when was the advent? Like, when did we first start to see them emerge?
It was Walter. Well, there's always Chester Himes. There's always one. We're always somewhere. But Walter Mosley helped break open Black crime with Devil in a Blue Dress when President Clinton put him on the list. After that, it's like, oh, you all don't. You're more than just like the villains in these stories. It's like, yes, we know these stories. We are heroes. Yeah. I grew up again in a neighborhood where people just assume something about you because you live there. And it's like, no, there are good people here, just like there are bad people in the nice parts, the parts, north of the 10 freeway. There's good people living where I live. And I wanted to tell those stories, and I wanted to tell those crime stories so that, people know that we exist and we're just as scared of some things as you are. I find it fascinating, and Beverly, you will understand this too, that there are readers, particularly white readers, who don't get you because you're different, but they will read a werewolf story or a vampire story and relate to the vampire before they relate to, Black women telling a story about being transgressed against. It's confounding. But
how has that been communicated to you, Rachel? Like, have readers said that to you? Okay. They write you an email. They post it on your social media.
And they do it in reviews. They do it everywhere. They tell you to your face. You go to conferences. We'll be at a conference together next week. And there'll be somebody who raises their hand and say, I'm going to read it. Even though I don't get it, we're so different. And you just kind of like do the smile and shake your head, because it's like, I'm, isn't it Sojourner Truth who said, "I'm a woman too"? We have many of the same issues.
What don't they get though, Beverly? Speak to what Rachel's talking to. You've been around this game a little bit longer than Rachel. What is it that they don't get?
With romance, well, number one, that we write.
First of all,
okay, English.
We're not smart enough to do that.
Okay,
but with romance, especially with historicals, with the history of the Jim Crow and the lynching and all of that, they cannot believe that we also loved. Yeah. Well, how can you make a HEA out of that? How can you do a happily ever after? But we had to have love in order for us to be here now. If we didn't have some place or someone to rescue us from the stress and the pain of getting out there and dealing with America every day, whether you were enslaved or whether you were free, that love was strong. Yeah. And we build on that. Mm-hmm. So, but they can't understand it because, number one, Hollywood didn't think we had Black love for a long time. Mm-hmm. They didn't see it in the books because, we didn't write books. We wrote books, but they weren't published. So trying to convince them, and don't try. You know, you'll either read the book or you won't. I ain't got time for that, you know. But yeah, they have said, and you know, and I have said too, you can relate to romances with werewolves and shapeshifters and monster sex. Now they've got this tentacle love, you know, all of this, but you can't relate to two Black people falling in love because I guess we use a different language, or we're not speaking English, or it's baffling and frustrating, and sometimes very, very angry.
Yeah, you've given up on trying to even figure it out because you're right. What is it that you don't get? Obviously, we're 30 million people in this country, and we got here somehow, and probably by somebody having some sex, and those people that had sex probably loved each other. You know, a lot of them loved each other, and they had romance along with their sexual encounters. So when we come forward, we're going to talk more with these brilliant writers. Rachel Howzell Hall and Beverly Jenkins are my women crush for Women's History Month right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Conservative House Republicans are calling for a nationwide ban on TikTok. Representative Troy Niels of Texas called the popular social media app a Chinese surveillance tool that threatens children and national security. This comes as the CEO of TikTok faced a grilling by a congressional committee over data concerns. Students in the Los Angeles Unified School District will return to class tomorrow. Employees of the district will end their strike as planned, but without a new contract or settlement between the district and Local 99 SEIU, which called for the strike. LA Mayor Karen Bass is now mediating the negotiations. Walmart is joining a growing list of companies that are announcing layoffs. Reports say the retail giant is cutting hundreds of jobs at 5 e-commerce fulfillment centers across the country. Walmart says the move is to better prepare for the future needs of customers. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
In Brea, on the 57 northbound at Imperial Highway, got a report of a disabled vehicle in the right lane. Pico Rivera, 605 northbound after Washington Boulevard, got a crash blocking the right lane, and you'll be on and off those brakes from Del Amo Boulevard. And in Compton, 91 eastbound before you get to Wilmington Avenue, disabled big rig. This is blocking the right lane, and you're going to see a lot of slowing coming away from the 110.
When you want the best deal on the best meal, choose Wendy's 2 for $6. Pick from Dave's Single, Spicy Chicken Sandwich, 10-piece Crispy Nugs, or a medium strawberry lemonade. Pair any 2 for just $6. Choose wisely. Choose Wendy's 2 for $6.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Very important stretch coming up for the Clippers, starting with tonight's home game against Oklahoma City. Can they remain a legitimate contender in the Western Conference without Paul George? George is expected to miss the last 9 games of the regular season with a sprained right knee. The Clippers are 6-11 when PG is not in the lineup. Keep an eye on UCLA's defense in tonight's NCAA tournament game against Gonzaga in Vegas. The Bruins are allowing only 58 points per game in the first 2 rounds. Gonzaga is averaging 83. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by Original Taco Pete.
It's Aaron from Original Taco Pete. Let us cater your March Madness munchies. Order with us at Original Taco Pete on Grubhub, Uber Eats, DoorDash, or stop into our Slauson and Crenshaw location. We'll feed you soon.
I'm young, gifted, and black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
Hey there, I'm Jared Hill, president of the National Association of Black Journalists of Los Angeles, and I just want to say thank you for the benevolent $10,000 donation and scholarships for the next generation of Black journalists.
And I'm Haywood Galbraith, photojournalist and founder of the Minority Photojournalism Institute. Thanks, KBLA, for your generous $10,000 scholarship gift to help us train the next generation of Black photojournalists.
Congratulations to all the students who will benefit from the scholarship dollars raised at our Black History Month luncheon honoring Black legends in LA media. When we come forward at KBLA Talk 1580, we're bringing everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us. Everybody with us.
Join Black Wealth Matters, an educational series as we explore and explain the Black College Athletes Playbook in a 5-part series starting April 6th. Dr. Davarian Baldwin, an award-winning scholar and author, seen in Time, CNBC, and more, helps us follow the college dollars. Coach John Mosley, fan favorite of Netflix's docuseries Last Chance U, covers the new world of the college athletes. David McGriff, one of the leaders in the NIL and sports world and owner of the McGriff Agency, explains NIL and the effects on Black athletes. Keisha Richardson gives the challenges of raising a Black athlete. And last, for the bonus series, we want to give athletes the tools to capitalize from their name and likeness with swimming bronze medalist from the 2021 Paralympics, Jamal Hill. There is no cost for the series. It's a live webinar. Questions are welcome. Register on KBLA1580.com.
KBLA Talk 1580 celebrates Women's History Month, sponsored by Walmart. As we celebrate Women's History Month this month, KBLA Talk 1580 would like to spotlight women leaders in our community who are creating positive change. If you or someone you know is making a difference in your community, please nominate them with a 50-word or less post on why you feel they should be included in the KBLA Women's Series, sponsored by Walmart. These women leaders will be featured on KBLA, interviewed on KBLA, and participate in a panel discussion hosted by Areva Martin in real time. Visit the KBLA app or log on to KBLA1580.com to nominate a woman in your community that is creating positive change. This has been a KBLA Talk 1580 community call to action. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Radio that's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm back, and I am talking with two prolific, incredible authors, Beverly Jenkins, who writes historical Black romance novels. I just read her most recent book, To Catch a Raven. Now, this is one of about 50 or so, but she's written so many, she doesn't even know if the number is 50. So we're just going to say 50 or so. But I just read To Catch a Raven, a very interesting book. I read Beverly's books in a day. When I should be working, I'm reading. And then at night when I should be sleeping, I'm reading. So I was up all last night and all day yesterday reading that book, just a wonderful book, and reminding me that I need to pick up some of her other books, because that book came out, I think, in 2022. And knowing Beverly, there's probably 3 or 4 others that I need to pick up. And then I'm here with Rachel Howzell Hall, and Rachel has a New York Times bestselling author, which is so hard to become. And I'm so proud of her. And just her latest book is We Lie Here. And then she has a book out called These Toxic Things. Rachel has written 12 books, and she's on her way to be like Miss Beverly here. And Rachel, you have a new book coming out. I definitely want you to tell us about the new one. But I want to ask you, Beverly talked about the rejections. The rejections. And I don't think you can be a successful author. You can't be a New York Times bestselling author. Beverly is a USA Today bestselling author. So you're both bestselling authors without hearing a lot of no's. So tell us about your journey to yes.
Oh,
Rachel.
man. So I didn't hear too many no's with my first novel. That was wonderful. It was the storybook. Oh, I sent it in over this thing called email, Netscape, email. And I heard back, and they published it with Scribner, Big House. It was after that happened. This was in early 2000s. And this was a moment in time where if they did publish Black writing, it was urban lit, grit lit, very East Coast focused, a specific voice. And my voice from the West Coast was not that voice.
Hold on a second, Rachel. What's I know what urban obviously is, but what's this East Coast voice? Help us understand what
like
that means.
Sister Soldier and Tenements,
Oh,
Snow
okay.
and Dirty Snow, and that that a very small slice of Black life. That's what publishing was interested in.
So those books were like about drugs. I've read Sister Soldier.
Yeah,
So it's like drugs, life, street life,
life.
Yeah.
And we have the life out here, but
they say too many palm trees in LA, huh?
And that's what fools people all the time. I had a photo shoot with the UK Times back in 2013, and they sent the photographer and all that, and I took him to my old neighborhood, and he's like, this is like a ghetto because there's palm trees and there's blue sky and this is
pink buildings.
Yeah. And it's like, well, if you look closely at those palm tree trunks, there's some bullet holes in there. Yeah, that's a nice car, but it may be stolen, it may not. So publishing wanted a very specific voice, and I wasn't that voice. I've kept the letters because if writers are anything, we're petty people sometimes. Yes. And I kept those letters that said that literally my voice was not Black enough. And it's like, well, I've been Black all my life. How is my voice not? What does that even mean? But they wanted a very East Coast sounding story. And for years and years after my first book, I could not get published. I could not get another contract because my voice wasn't what they wanted in publishing. But I kept at it. I write because I love writing, not because I'm trying to get paid. And I kept writing, and Amazon came out with the self-publishing Kindle program, and I self-published 2 books. Meanwhile, getting closer and closer to my voice, who I wanted to be. I thought that I had to be a literary writer, in the Granta 30 under 30 list, those types of, and it's like, that's not who I am. That's never, my first books, my first loves were all genre. They were Sidney Sheldon, they were Stephen King, they were Jackie Collins, they were crime stories. That's what I was interested in. And with me not being published, but still writing and being true to my voice and what I wanted to say, I finally landed on that thing. And that thing was, I wanted to write a story that married Walter Mosley with Terry McMillan. I wanted a heroine who policed her own neighborhood in the jungle, who had family issues, who had, work things. And I wanted her to be like this heroine. And that's when I landed my next book contract with Forge. And I've written 1 to 2 books a year since 2014 because that is my voice. That's what I believe. That's my love. I love these stories, and I love these women that I model after the women that I know. I don't have to look far. The city is full of them. We have so many different types of Black womanhood in the world, and I'm looking forward to writing stories that kind of capture all of them.
Wow, that's amazing. But you didn't give up.
No.
So many people would have given up. You did not. I think that's what makes both of your stories so inspiring, is that you both had to overcome hurdles. You both had to face challenges. You both had to face rejection. And for some people, they say, I'm not good at this, or maybe I shouldn't be doing this, or maybe this is a sign from God. You talk about hell. Some people may say, this is a sign from God. God is talking to me saying, do something else. And so, Beverly, when you were facing getting those rejection letters, folks in your case were saying Black folks don't love each other. If it's not a slave story, it wasn't selling. How did you muster up that courage, that tenacity to just keep going?
Honestly, I didn't care about the rejections because my dream job, all I ever wanted to do was work in a library. And that's what I was doing. You can send me 1,000 rejection letters. I'm still getting up every morning and going to what I love to do. But, I think if I had been focused on getting published, that would probably have broken my heart. But I tell aspiring writers, don't quit. There's somebody out there who is waiting for that story that you're writing. So, keep writing, don't give up. But yeah, I could have cared. It's like, I don't care about a rejection letter. I'm going to the library in the morning. So
You're going to your dream drive. We have two of your books we've been showing them, Bring on the Blessings and To Catch a Raven. This is the last one that I read. What's the latest book, though, that you've written, Beverly? Because I don't think it's To Catch a Raven, is it?
yeah, it is. It is. Catch a Raven came out, God, I don't even know.
It came out in August of 2022.
Okay, all right, last year. All right.
I did my homework.
See, my readers know.
Yes, we know.
I've been the book that'll be out in October is book 11 for the Blessing series. I'm doing one more book in that series, but I'm working on an indie project. I'm going to do some Rachel. I'm going to do some self-publishing. Wow. I want to do suspense. I did a suspense one a couple years ago for Amazon. It's called Rare Danger. And I love that I can blow stuff up. I can do car chases. I can do, sisters who are, armed and dangerous. So
come on over.
Yeah, well, we do wait for the next one. But I have 5 of those. I have 5 romantic suspense. So I'm getting back into that. But
why do you have to do it as a indie project, Beverly? Is this because I'm being selfish, and because publishers, they don't pay you a whole lot of money. We're not in this for the money. But if I can do it indie, I can get a little bit more. Mama can make a little bit more money. Oh, okay.
And
bigger percentage of the royalties and
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Rachel, you wrote a book, though, with James Patterson, didn't you?
I did. And that's what hit the New York Times bestselling list.
Awesome.
And that was a blessing that came out of the blue. I learned how to turn the page, to cut out, as Elmore Leonard says, cut out the boring parts and keep it rolling.
Right.
And that was a blessing. And anytime I do feel down about my career sometimes, because that comes, everybody gets imposter syndrome. I think, wow, I co-wrote a book with James Patterson. Not a lot of people can say that. So yeah.
Absolutely. When we come forward, we want the backstory of how you got to James Patterson or he got to you. And what's next for both of you? Because obviously you both have new books coming out, but I think there must be some other big things that you guys are going to tell us when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580.
Black women making history at the Oscars. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by Lendistry. The 95th Annual Academy Awards took place this week. Although the show has Black media critics in an uproar due to Angela Bassett not winning Best Supporting Actress, we still celebrate costume designer Ruth E. Carter for becoming the first Black woman to win 2 Oscars. Carter has worked on astounding films in the past, such as Selma, Malcolm X, and Spike Lee's School Days. Carter's moment has come again as she has won her 2nd Oscar for Best Costume Design in the Marvel sequel Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. After taking home her win, Carter says she hopes that this can create more opportunities for other women of color in film. I'm Maisha Cairo, and that's your K-Black Minute News.
KBLA 1580 Talk Radio congratulates Sal's Gumbo Shack for this Women's History Month. Surviving the pandemic and social unrest, Sal's Gumbo Shack continued to hold the community up with great food to all that came through the doors. Are you ready for the best gumbo in town? The best po' boy you've had? Sal's Gumbo Shack. We bring the bayou to you with real authentic soul food, Mama and Granny's recipes made with real butter, real love, real everything. Also introducing a healthy option from our jackfruit selection. And there's more: mouth-watering desserts, peach cobbler, banana pudding, red and blue velvet cake, 7-Up pound cake, homemade with lots of love. To order, call 562-423-2113. That's 562-423-2113. Sal's is also providing training and employment to those serious about a career in the food industry and the opportunity to perhaps own your own Sal's Gumbo Shack one day. Visit salsgumboshack.com or stop by either locations, Bixby Knolls or Long Beach Boulevard. Sal's Gumbo Shack.
Hello, This is Dr. Rosie Milligan, self-appointed mayor of South Central Los Angeles, calling authors and business owners. Get ready for Black Writers on Tour, plus Business and Tech Expo, Saturday, March 25th, 2023, 10 to 3 p.m. It's a face-to-face event at the Carson Community Center.
Authors, aspiring writers, learn how to write, publish, and sell your book. Business owners, let people know where you're at, and much more. 323-750-3592. It's a free event. You heard right, free. And there's something for everybody. Go to blackwritersontour.com and register today. 323-750-3592.
Literacy is everybody's business. Black Writers on Tour, Saturday, March 25th, 2023, 10 to 3 p.m. I'm looking to see you face to face. 323-750-3592 or visit blackwritersontour.com. Don't miss it.
California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 per school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com. California is a great place to live and work, but those aren't easy things to do for students also going to college. That's why the state created the Californians for All College Corps, a way for students to build skills and help others while earning up to $10,000 for school. Commit to serve your community and we'll help you pay for college. Spots will fill up fast, so learn more and apply today at www.cacollegecorps.com. That's www.cacollegecorps.com.
Our Weekly Los Angeles is the largest audited Black newspaper in the state of California, with a distribution of over 50,000 copies weekly. Pick up a copy every Thursday to get the latest news on African American communities of LA. You can also keep up with what's going on in Los Angeles and surrounding cities by going to www.ourweekly.com. The Our Weekly website is updated daily with the current news about us and for us. For your advertising needs, Our Weekly offers economical advertising packages to fit your budget. Feel free to call Our Weekly Los Angeles at 323-905-1300 or visit the website at www.ourweekly.com. Our Weekly Los Angeles, reporting news that matters to you.
Congratulations to Revolution Company for being this week's winner of KBLA's Office of the Week. Log on to KBLA1580.com to enter your office to win lunch for 10, delivered by John O'Groats Family Restaurant.
All right, we are back with Rachel Howzell Hall, a New York Times bestselling author, and she is the author of 12 books. We are showing a couple of her books, We Lie Here and These Toxic Things, and also Beverly Jenkins is here. She's the author of 50 books, and we're just showing a couple of them, Bring on the Blessings and To Catch a Raven. Now, both of you ladies have new books coming out. So, Rachel, tell us about your new book that's coming out.
My next book is called What Never Happened, and it's a story of a young Black woman who goes to Catalina Island off the coast of California, where her family was killed 20 years ago. And she's there to find out what happened that night. She's an obituary writer, and so she's going to be writing for the little newspaper over there. And everything is fine until someone sends her her own obituary. And she's trying to figure out if this death threat is connected to the slaughter of her family 25 years ago. So it's another Black woman in white space trying to figure things out.
Rachel, I know there's a category now, Black romance. Is there a category in books of Black crime fiction, or is it just all bunched together?
We kind of rebelled against that. So it's more basically true crime, or a crime mystery, that kind of thing. So yeah, it's not as segregationist as some other genres, fortunately, because our books should be everywhere. Our books relate to everything. It's part of that, werewolf gargoyle love type. I can't understand it, Yeah, you can. And here it is all mixed up. So
that's very interesting that you say that. So it's not a genre of Black crime fiction. It's just all crime fiction.
Yeah. Mostly.
Do you have a lot of white readers?
Yes. I mean, white women read the most books. They are the biggest readership. And Black women for crime.
Oh, for crime.
For crime.
We're trying to change that for crime and making it that Black women read as much as, white women do. But for crime right now, it's particularly white women of a certain age, the boomers, who are buying the most and reading the most crime.
And they will read crime with Black characters.
Well, there is a concerted effort, but for the majority of them, you have to convince them. And a lot of us spend a lot of time going to conferences and readings and all this to meet them to say, buy our stuff, because ultimately we have to sell books. If we want a contract, we have to sell books. And that means, asking lots of groups of people to buy them, because while I have a day job and that's great, and I don't have to worry about, getting up and being creative every day, I want to keep writing books and having contracts. So, yeah.
Well, let me ask you this. In order for white women, the primary reading group demographic, to read these books, does the crime have to take place in a white community, or does there have to be other characters who are white? Because, we often hear in Hollywood when you're making a project, the question is who's Black in the project, right? Or who's white, in the project. So for your books to be read by white readers, do they need to be like on Catalina Island, which is predominantly, not African American? Or can you write about Black folks in the jungle?
Yes. And my series was primarily Black people living in the jungle. But, of course, I had white characters in there. It can be exhausting because a lot of times white women want to be the main character. And if I had written that book with a white character, they would have loved it. They would have bought it. They would have fell in love with her. But seeing that my characters are not, it's convincing. What happens, though, is allyship. I have a lot of allies around me, white women who write crime and mystery, who get it. And it helps when they express and validate me.
Mm-hmm. You're validators. Okay.
And it's frustrating for all of us because, I've been doing this for a while now and I don't need validation, but in some ways I do, because they will pay attention to her. And if she's saying that it's okay, you're going to be safe.
It's a good book. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had books, reviews that say, I didn't pick up your book because it probably is woke, because they have discovered the word woke. And I can't convince those people. I'm not interested in convincing those people, but I am interested in convincing those women who just aren't familiar and just don't know it. They're used to reading two types of books, and they're probably all by Mary Higgins Clark, and they're not sure if they would like your stuff. Not because they're racist, but you read what you want to read, and you're comfortable reading what you want to read. So we have some work to do, but it is getting better than when I started back in 2001.
Okay, so 20 years at it, and you do see some progress. What about you, Beverly? Are you seeing? You don't have a ton of white characters in your books. Like To Catch a Raven, I don't know if there was a white person in it.
There's no white saviors in my books. We save ourselves as we always have done.
Yeah.
Do you have white readers?
Oh yeah. Okay. A lot of white readers. In fact, we have a thing called Jenkins July, where everybody reads my books, and this was started by a group of white women. So everybody's doing Jenkins July in the month of July. But of course, you always want, like she said, more readers. And I want the eyeballs. I don't care who you are.
Right.
I have men who read the Blessing series. Little old ladies read the Blessing series because that's a contemporary and it's a small town series. So, the more readers we get, the better off we all are.
So we know lots of books these days when you're writing the book, and I know this because I'm an author. Oftentimes your agent is not just thinking about the book, they're thinking about other projects that could be associated with the book. Podcasts, TV series, big movies, depending on the story. Rachel, have you, or any of your books you think that you've written or plan to write, do they lend themselves to either small screen or big screens, or do you have any companions like a podcast with any of the book projects?
Right. No, my books have been optioned, and I'm all waiting for the day when something actually is greenlit and heads into development. But until then, I still write. I'm actually launching a fantasy line. My first fantasy in a 4-book series comes out next February, and again, it's a space where there are not a lot of Black folks in fantasy. But
what's fantasy? Give us real quickly. What's fantasy?
Fantasy is basically Lord of the Rings, that type of big world, dragons, that kind of thing. And it's exciting. I'm looking forward to expanding into that area as well.
Fantastic. Absolutely. And I know, Beverly, after Bridgerton was such a big hit on Netflix, we know that Black romance is popular on TV as well as it is in books. Any movement on any of your projects as it relates to
we've got a
TV
couple
projects?
Couple options out there. People are, Hollywood is sort of looking. So, we've got a couple options. So we'll see what the future brings.
Well, I just want everyone to support these Black authors. That's how they get options. That's how they get big contracts. That's how they write and sell more books. They have to have eyes. They have to have readers. So we should all be supporting Rachel Howzell Hall and Beverly Jenkins. Thank you to both of you for joining me. Happy Women's History Month. Keep on doing what you're doing. Keep inspiring and motivating the next generation of writers. My pleasure to be in conversation with both of you. Coming up next, the Raw Report right here on KBLA Talk 1580.